Live with CDP Sports Talk, a weekly sports and entertainment podcast sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet. Live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and LinkedIn. And on audio via Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Spotify, Anchor FM, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Radio Public, and TuneIn. Now, here's your host, Chris Palme.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Season 7, Episode 23 of Live with CDP Sports Talk, sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership at 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Guelph Auto Mall. Check out barrycullen.com for the newest selection of new and pre-owned GM vehicles, or give them a call at 519-824-0210, or email them at info@barrycullen.com. Live with CDP Sports Talk is on weeknights from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern on radio station WQEE 99.1 FM in Noonan, Georgia, the home of Southern Talk and Sports. Good afternoon, everybody, on this, I can't believe it's Tuesday, January 9th, 2024. I'm looking forward to my guest today. This is his first appearance on my show. His name is Dan Miller. He is a sports director at Fox 2 in Detroit. He's also the longtime radio play-by-play announcer for the NFL's Detroit Lions on 97.1 The Ticket. And we're going to bring Dan on right now, and we're going to talk about those 2023 Detroit Lions. Good afternoon, Dan.
How you doing, man?
Good. Thank you so much for coming on today. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
No problem. Before we get into the Lions quickly, just quick thoughts on the Michigan Wolverines winning their first national championship since 1997.
I mean, it's an amazing accomplishment. I mean, a 15-0 season speaks for itself. And, this is the vision that Jim Harbaugh had when he came back to Michigan. He wanted to return them to the ability to win a national championship and get them to the position where they could compete with Ohio State in the Big Ten, which they hadn't done in quite some time. And he has obviously achieved all of those goals. And this is a wonderful day for all those in the maize and blue world. And, last night's a night that none of them will ever forget. And for the first time since 1997, they can say that, they're at the top of the mountain, and it's a wonderful day, obviously, in Ann Arbor.
And was it 97 the year you came to Detroit, Fox 2 in Detroit?
That was I covered that Rose Bowl for the national championship about a month and a half after I got to Detroit. So that was very quick indoctrination into, what Michigan football is all about. And it was a wonderful way to start, I'll tell you that.
And I'm an old school football game. I always believe it starts with the offensive line and defensive lines. And I just thought Michigan Lions won the line of scrimmage against Washington last night.
Well, I think that Michigan offensive line went out there with a purpose. And that was, they had won the Joe Moore Award as the best offensive line in the country in 21 and 22. And then Washington had won it in 23. And I don't think they liked that very much. And, the early part of that game, look, it wasn't a great game for J.J. McCarthy, but that running game supported him to the point where they didn't need to ask him to do a lot. And he made a big play, obviously, late in the game with a scramble and a first down for Michigan. But when you get those Donovan Edwards runs in the first quarter and kind of knock Washington back on their heels, they really never recovered after that. And Michigan's defensive line did a good job on Michael Penix, making him feel uncomfortable back there. And that was not a good resume game for him, and Michigan had something to do with that. So, yeah, I think that's what Jim Harbaugh believes in. That's what Bo Schembechler believed in. And if Bo believed in it, Jim believes in it. And you saw the fruits of that labor that he's had in putting those things together last night. And you've really seen it the past couple of years when Michigan has been to the playoffs. Obviously, it hasn't gone well, but a lot of their success has been built around what they've been able to do up front on both sides of the ball.
And up next is the Detroit Lions. It's a great time to be a football fan right now in the state of Michigan.
No, it's exciting. I mean, obviously you win a national championship and then you turn around and you have a playoff game coming up this week at Ford Field where they've never had a playoff game before. It's the first time they've had a home playoff game in 30 years. It's the first time they've had a playoff game in the city of Detroit in 67 years. So it's It's a great time to be a fan. There's no doubt about that, and it will not take long for people to enjoy celebrating this Michigan thing, and then turn their attention to this Lions game coming up on Sunday night.
And you've been the late Lions radio play-by-play announcer since 2005. So you've called some really tough seasons in that. And how satisfying had this season been so far? And when did you know this franchise was heading in the right direction under Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes? Was it midway through last year?
Well, I think number one, this season has been great, and to see the fans be able to enjoy the payoff of all the years that they have given to this franchise, and frankly, the franchise hasn't given enough back to them. And I think top to bottom, they all know that. And this is their mission to, give this team and this community something that they can be proud of, and they've done that. And look, I think last year starting 1-6 that was a bit shocking, and I don't think anybody really saw that coming out of the gate. But the owner, Sheila Hamp, never lost faith. The general manager, Brad Holmes, head coach, Dan Campbell, never lost faith. And to win eight out of 10 to close last season, I think was an inkling of where they were headed. But you had to back that up this year. And I think when they went into Kansas City and won on opening night, I think that was a big moment for this franchise to say, you know what, last year was last year, but we're going to continue this thing, keep moving forward. And to win a division for the first time in 30 years. And, again, like we said, the byproduct of that is a home playoff game. I just think really, as you indicated, probably since that 1-6 start last year, seeing the way that they have played and just been able to build and endure and show resiliency. They haven't lost 2 games in a row since October 30th of last year. So I think they've given us plenty of evidence that what they're doing is real, and they're building something that's got some staying power.
Dan and the coaching staff and obviously Brad Holmes have changed the culture in Detroit, and now the expectations are simply win every week.
I think that's the case. Yeah. I mean, I think unlike in years past, you go into every week feeling like they have a chance to win. And there's a lot of confidence involved in that, and winning breeds confidence. And I think the players certainly have that. I know the coaches have that. And, culture is a funny word. It's one that we in the media throw around a lot, and probably do it sometimes when it's not warranted. But there is culture here, and you can see that. Sometimes when something's right in front of you, it's easier to see than when you're just discussing it. And there is a terrific culture here, top down, from the owner to the very lowest ranking member of the organization, where it's collaborative. Everybody feels like they're part of the process. Everybody feels like they have a stake in this and a piece in this, and a job to do. And that starts with Sheila Hamp. And I really believe that her vision before she even hired Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell is what set this franchise in motion to do the things that they've done.
And I was just reading up this morning, Dan, too. This is the first time ever the Buffalo Bills, the Cleveland Browns, and the Detroit Lions have all made the playoffs at the same time. And those 3 cities are all great cities for football. And it's just so great for the National Football League to have these 3 franchises in the playoffs at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, look, obviously they're all blue collar towns, and Buffalo has certainly had their success. Maybe not the ultimate success they were looking for, but they've had their success, more so than Cleveland or Detroit. It's been a long time since Cleveland or Detroit had anything, long lasting that they could hang their hats on that didn't end in disappointment. So, look, it's a wonderful time, and those franchises. Buffalo made a nice recovery this year from kind of a midseason swoon, and what Cleveland has been able to do after losing their quarterback has been very impressive. So, all these teams have faced some adversity this year and been able to come through it and get to this point. And I think that's really what it's all about. It's only 18 weeks to 17 games, but man, within that, you have to face a lot of doubt and tough times and adversity, and you have to find a way through it. And all these teams in the playoffs have been able to do that.
What I like about the Lions, too, is that they had the disappointing loss against Dallas, and I don't want to get into the officiating on here, but they seem to rebound good against the Vikings, and Dan Campbell seems to have this team focused. Even when they do lose a game, they don't dwell on it, and they move on and get the job done the next week.
Yeah, I mean, I think there was a feeling coming out of Dallas that they didn't lose, that they had something taken away from them, and I think sometimes that's easier to bounce back from. And I think that, look, if there's anything Dan Campbell has done with this team, it is shown his ability to set the tone for whatever's in front of them. And like I said, they don't let one game beat them twice. You don't see this team go on losing streaks. They haven't done that. So that's a huge credit to him and the way that he handles that locker room. And yeah, they were ready to play against Minnesota. And you can question what was on the line there. There was a chance at the number 2 seed. They didn't get everything that they needed, but it was another example of him, not allowing this team to allow something negative that happens to affect them the next time they go out. And they did that again. And that's a very important thing to have in this league, because if you're not stacking losses on top of one another, then there's a pretty good chance you're doing okay in the standings. Because if you're going win loss, and you can stack a couple wins here and there, you're going to get yourself to 9-10, in their case 12 wins, and that's usually good enough to get you into this part of the season, which is where everybody wants to be, just to have a chance.
Dan Campbell's a perfect fit for this team and city. He's just mentally tough and mentally strong, and the guys really love playing for him, from what I've been told.
He's been the right guy since the moment he walked in the door, and he had a amazing opening press conference that unfortunately most people in the country pulled 15 seconds out of, about biting kneecaps, and ignored the rest of it. And he said exactly what fans needed to hear. They didn't need a bunch of garbage about how quickly it was going to be done, or some golden vision of where this team was going to go. They needed to know that somebody was going to be in the trenches with them, and that somebody was going to build this thing right. And we've been through a lot of press conferences here. We've been through a lot of NBA coaches, NHL coaches, NFL coaches, baseball coaches, managers, and Dan Campbell's press conference, that 90-minute press conference that he opened with, was one of the best I've ever seen. And he hasn't wavered since then, and he hasn't changed since then. He is the same guy pretty much every single day. And I think the players appreciate that consistency. I think that consistency permeates throughout the organization. He gets it. He played here. He understands what Detroit is about. And I think he is just the perfect guy in terms of the makeup of the man, but also because he's a hell of a coach. And he's assembled a terrific staff, and they're good teachers, and they've helped young players grow and get better, which is something we didn't have enough of around here for a long time. So Dan Campbell checks all the boxes, and he is the guy that's been needed here for quite some time.
And he was a part of the 2008 Lion team, unfortunately, that went 0-16.
He was. He got hurt early in that season, so he didn't play much. But he got hurt in the opening game against Atlanta. But he was around enough to see what it is like to be in Detroit, what it is like to kind of wear the failure of the teams that have come before you, and how maybe you're not a part of that and you weren't there for that. But you do in some ways have to own that, because those are the questions you get. And that's the history of this team. But it also gives you something wonderful to shoot for, which is the ability to be the team that changes that. And I think he's embraced that. I think his players have embraced that. And I think that's driven them to want to be different, to want to be a team that Detroit can be proud of, and to be a team that does things that have never been done in Detroit before.
And I was going to say this too, Dan. Winning and stability means a lot to a franchise.
That's huge, and we haven't obviously had enough of that here. Those two things don't necessarily have to go hand in hand. And his stability, his just day-to-day nature is something that has been huge for the entire program here, and what he's trying to put in place, because everybody keys off your head coach. If your head coach is maniacally up and down, then the players and the other coaches and even the fans are going to be maniacally up and down. But this guy is just as steady as they come, and moves from one thing to another as it is appropriate, and just doesn't let anybody stay down or up too long. And he's wonderful at just setting a vision for everybody around him. And he's done that with this organization.
Gonna ask you this, Dan. How much does the Detroit Lions mean to the city of Detroit and the state of Michigan?
Oh, look. First of all, the NFL is king. We know that it is a powerful thing when you start talking about pro football and its impact on a community and its fans. And look, you play 17 games a year. You play one game a week. All that time you have to build up to each and every one of those games just makes each one an event. And people here love football. They'll pack the big house, they'll pack Spartan Stadium, and then they'll pack Ford Field. And it's just, it is a place where people love this team. This team has not given them back what they've dreamed of. And that's allowed some people to stray away and maybe find other things to do. But I think all they wanted was something that they believed in and could sink their teeth into, and he's given them that. So, you saw season tickets sold out for the first time ever at Ford Field, and every game has been packed and every game has been electric. And football is massive in our state, and the Lions are massive in our state. But it's been a frustrating relationship for fans over the years, but they're finally seeing the payoff and seeing a team that is really easy to embrace because there's good people running it and good people playing for this team and likable people. So they're doing the job on the field. They are likable off the field. They have just, again, put everything in place to put a product out there that people can really get behind. And that's what's happened here.
Sure, Detroit's a great sports city, and the way the Lions have come back to being a competitive team, it kind of reminds me of how Detroit, the city, is coming back as well at the same time.
Yeah, and that's been ongoing. I mean, that's been going on for a while I've been here for 27 years, and the changes that I've seen in downtown Detroit have been amazing. It's a city that has been through a lot. It's a city that has had people that it's trusted betray it, and it has been in and out of financial trouble, but you're seeing the life come back. And certainly having Ford Field and Comerica Park and LCA right down there, all within a block or two of each other is a huge part of it. So there's great things happening in the city, and it just so happens that the resurgence of the Lions is coming along with that. But this resurgence in the city of Detroit is a byproduct of a lot of people that have worked very hard to get it done, and we're seeing a lot of great things happening down there. I think there's obviously always going to be work to be done in the city, but it's a different place than when I moved here. And it's, something I think a lot of people are proud of as they have seen the changes down there. And yeah, it's wonderful to have a football team, kind of grabbing the national spotlight and the local love at the same time that you're seeing some of those changes happening within Detroit.
One of the most loyal fan bases in all of the National Football League.
Yeah, I think so. But it's, in fairness, there are so many fans that have loved this team through the difficult times, but there are also fans that, I think there were Sundays where they found something else to do because there's only so much heartbreak you can take. So I think you can kind of divide it up. There are the diehards, and then there are the people that just got so frustrated, they had to kind of look around a little bit to see, am I really going to continue to invest in this thing when it's not giving anything back on a regular basis or even a semi-regular basis. So I think they're united now. I think the people that maybe looked away when times were tough have come back because they like what they're seeing. And believe me, I'm not criticizing those people. It was really difficult around here to endure the mismanagement that they had in the 2000s and the disappointments that they've had in years where they thought maybe they'd be good, the chances they'd had to take steps forward that never happened. It's a lot of gut punches to have to deal with. And, so I get what these fans have been through. And that's why I tell people the absolute best part of my job, bar none, is seeing fans happy. And to see the reaction from fans and feel the electricity in that stadium, which, to be honest, has been a really good stadium many times, even in the tough years. But it's just different this year, man. It's another level, and everything is about these fans and seeing them get the payoff, and it's been wonderful. And look, there's a lot of work to be done. Guys on this team and the coaches will tell you they haven't done anything yet. All they've done is win a division and make the playoffs. Well, okay, that's box one, box two. Now, what do you do from here? Because you didn't come in just to do that. You came in to make noise, get in here, win some games, ultimately win a Super Bowl, and that's the goal. And nobody's shying away from that. And right now they're one of 14 teams that has a chance to do that.
Leads to my next question, Dan. I'm going to cut it short because I only want to keep you a couple more minutes. You're generous enough to give me some time today, but just overall thoughts on the impact Iowa rookie tight end Sam Laporta has had on this offense this year.
Oh, Sam's been great. I mean, he is setting records for rookie tight ends with his production. His production has put him up there amongst the best veteran tight ends in this league. He is very quickly taken his place among the best players at his position, regardless of the fact that he has only played one season in this league. And from the day he walked in, he just looked comfortable. And he and Jared Goff have a great relationship and on the field, and massive trust between the two of them. He is just he's unflappable. Nothing gets him up or down. He's always wearing a smile on his face. And you can't say enough about the job that he's done. It's a difficult position to come into this league and be productive right away, and he has done that. Obviously, we don't know if we'll have him this weekend because of the injury, but the hope is that they will. But Sam is a special player and going to be doing good things for a long time.
And Dan, thoughts on this wild card game at Ford Field Sunday against the Los Angeles Rams and former Lions quarterback Matthew Stafford? What a great story this is.
Yeah, I mean, look, everybody knows the storylines. These are two quarterbacks that were traded for one another. Our general manager and his assistant both came from the Rams. So there's a lot of ancillary things that will be talked about leading up to the game. But once you get to the game, it's all about football. And I'm sure Matthew wants to come back here and win because he wants to move on to the playoffs. But look, there's also, when it's a team that you used to play for, there's going to be some extra motivation. And same thing for Jared Goff. Jared Goff has his own story about what happened in Los Angeles with the Rams. So, we've all kind of felt like this was coming for a while as we watch the standings. But it's going to be very tough, but it's supposed to be tough this year. There's not one team that's alive at the playoffs that you'd look at and say it isn't going to be tough. So, you got to figure it out, match up, go out there and do what you've been doing, which is play clean football and win.
And that leads to my next question, Dan. I just have two more quick questions for you. What are some other keys to a Lions win over the Rams? And what will that environment be like in the first ever playoff game at Ford Field?
Oh, it's going to be off the chain. I mean, believe me, it will be just insane. Downtown Detroit will be electric, whether people have tickets or not. They'll be down there. That stadium will be as loud as it has ever been since it opened. People have been waiting for this for a long time. Ticket prices are through the roof on the secondary market. They're the highest in the NFL right now based on some survey I saw this morning. But it tells you just how hungry people are for playoff action in Detroit. So, look, the fans will do their part. And as any coach will tell you, it's up to the team to give the fans a reason to get involved. If I look at keys to this game, one of the Rams' strengths is where the Lions are experiencing difficulty right now, and that's the passing game. The Lions are having a tough time shutting people down, and obviously Stafford with Kupp and Nakua can really sling it. So they've got to find some way to slow that thing down, whether it's hitting Matthew and taking him down or getting more tight coverage on the receivers. I think that's number one, limiting the big plays, because they have given him up 2 of the past 3 weeks to Jefferson, and in between they gave him up to CD Lamb. So they got to find some way to shut down that passing game. Probably starts with slowing him down with Karen Williams and the running game that Dallas has, and the Rams have. He has been terrific. Lions have been good against the run all year. This will be a real test for him in this game, and offensively, he's got to score, man. Just limit the empty possessions. This offense is capable of moving the ball against anybody in this league. They've shown that. But it's got to be one of those games where they are maximizing the possessions they have. Just keep scoring, keep putting the pressure back on LA to keep up and see if you can force a mistake somewhere in there.
All right, Dan, and finally, but we're going to wrap this up. Where can my audience follow you on social media, and what time will you and Lomas be on the radio on 97.1 The Ticket for the wild card game versus the Rams for your pregame show?
Yeah, our pregame show starts in the 5 o'clock hour, and we'll be on about 7:10 on Sunday night, and we'll be on 97.1 The Ticket, our flagship station in Detroit, and then the other stations on the network and also the Odyssey app. And we'll be on at 10 o'clock in the morning on TV on Fox 2 in Detroit. And it's look, it's going to be an exciting night, fantastic night, and couldn't ask for any more than to be back in the playoffs, to have a chance to enjoy a primetime game and watch that city light up. And let's just go do this, man. It's going to be a lot of fun.
I've never been to a game at Ford Field yet, so I'm going to hopefully either this playoffs or next season get down there. But Dan, I'm going to say congratulations on a great season so far, and I'm really looking forward to this Sunday night matchup against the Rams. I think it's going to be a great game, and I want to say thank you so much for giving me some time out of your busy schedule this week to come on live with CDP Sports Talk here on WQEE 99.1 FM in Noonan, Georgia.
I appreciate that, and that's really that. Congratulations goes to everybody in that organization and all these fans that have put the work in and the time in to make this happen. So, man, this is something everybody's sharing in, and everybody's ready for more. So let's kick this thing off and have some fun, and looking forward to it. And thank you for having me.
Thanks a lot, Dan, and have a great call with Lomas on Sunday. Then
got it, man. Thank you.
Have a great afternoon, Dan.
Take care. Appreciate it.
You too. Thank you. All right, guys, that was Dan Miller, the longtime radio play-by-play announcer for the Detroit Lions on 97.1 The Ticket in Detroit, Michigan. Dan came on today to talk about the 23 Detroit Lions and preview their matchup with the Los Angeles Rams and Sean McVay and Matthew Stafford this Sunday night, 8:15 on Sunday Night Football at Ford Field. And I'm really looking forward to that game. That should be one of the better playoff games this weekend. And I've got Detroit winning this game 24-21 over the Rams. I think it's going to be a 3-point game. I think it's going to come down to a field goal at the end, but I'm looking forward to it. We got some other playoff action this week. Saturday, we got Cleveland and Houston, and Miami and Kansas City on Saturday night. And Sunday, we have Pittsburgh and Buffalo. It was just announced today, TJ Watt, the Steelers' best defensive player, is going to be out with an MCL sprain. So no TJ Watt for the Steelers this Sunday afternoon at Highmark Stadium in Buffalo against the Bills at 1 o'clock. Green Bay and Dallas Sunday. And then we get the Rams in Detroit Sunday night. And then Monday night, the Philadelphia Eagles, who've lost 5 out of 6 to drop to 11-6. The number 5 seed are in Tampa Bay to take on the NFC South champion Buccaneers. So looking forward to these games. I do think there's going to be 1 or 2 upsets this weekend. And I have a feeling Miami might be one upset and Green Bay. I think Miami could upset Kansas City and Green Bay over Dallas. I like the way the Packers are playing right now. Jordan Love is developed as a first-year starter. Aaron Jones is a solid veteran running back. They have good receivers. They have a good defense, and the Packers are well coached. And Dallas really kind of stole that NFC East from Philly. The Eagles melted down the last 6 weeks, and that one call against the Detroit Lions helped Dallas as well. I really feel the Packers and Miami are going to win. I know Miami came off a devastating loss to Buffalo. They've got a lot of injuries, but Kansas City is still a good football club, but they're not nearly as explosive as they were in the past. And who knows with that weather in Kansas City. So Cleveland and Houston, I'm going to go with the hometown Houston Texans. Miami, Kansas City. Kansas City should win, but I'm going to pick Miami in an upset. Pittsburgh at Buffalo. I think the Steelers are going to be competitive, but the Bills should win this game. Green Bay at Dallas. I'm going to go with the Packers in an upset over Dallas. And then the Rams of Detroit, got to go with the Detroit Lions, who are looking for their first playoff win since 1991 or 92. I believe it was the 91 season into 92 when they beat Dallas 38-6. So it's been over 3 decades since the Lions have hosted a playoff game and won a playoff game as well. And then Philadelphia and Tampa Bay. I'm an Eagles fan. I want to pick the Eagles, but the way they've played the last 6 weeks, losing 5 out of 6 games, Jalen Hurts is banged up, AJ Brown's banged up, Devontae Smith is banged up. They did not look good against the Giants, so I'm hoping the Eagles win, but I wouldn't be shocked if Tampa Bay beats them at home. Tampa Bay's been playing good football this year, and Baker Mayfield has been playing solid as well. Guys, before we wrap up the show, I had the privilege of covering the National Lacrosse League champion Buffalo Bandits this past Saturday night at the KeyBank Center in downtown Buffalo. And I've got a post-game interview with one of the Bandits players, Josh Burns, who had 3 goals and 4 assists for 7 points in their 12-8 win over the Colorado Mammoths. And here's his interview with me and the media after the game.
Third quarter. It works in ebbs and flows, but at the end of the day, I'm proud of our group for staying with it.
What was going right in the first half before that you hadn't been doing as much before?
I don't even think we were necessarily doing anything differently. That Georgia game, as an offense, we thought we were playing great offense. We just couldn't finish the ball. We thought Dobson had a really good game, and maybe besides finishing the ball, we didn't really do that extremely well last game. But our offense overall, we were getting great looks. So just try to continue that and just focus on making the right reads and changing up our shots. And it's hard to fall.
It seemed like everybody got a kick out of Dane getting off the schneid with a goal that literally wasn't supposed to be a shot. What were you guys?
Well, that was a shot.
What were you guys saying after that one?
I don't know. I was in the penalty box, which I got to stop making a habit of that. Been doing that, way too much lately. I got to do a better job of, not putting myself in those positions. And but no, yeah, it was good to see Danner get one of those to fall. He's such a great person, leader, teammate. You would never know that he was having a scoring slump or whatever guys want to call it, because he's just the best in the locker room and super positive all the time.
How much of a relief is that for a shooter when you finally break through and get out of that slump?
It's nice. Those ones are tough because you obviously want to be one that you want. You know what I mean? But at the same time, when those go, sometimes you feel like, oh, I might have 7 tonight. So that's going, anything's going. So it was good to see him smiling, and I was pounding the glass on the opposite side. So I was fired up on.
You talk through that first goal. Did you see a game go down and it looked like a pretty aggressive shot out of you from the top?
Yeah, I didn't see what happened. I just saw him laying on the ground. And at first I was just trying to set a pick on someone. And then, I saw we were 6-on-5 and he was still laying on the ground. So I was kind of pissed off and just fired it. And, more still frustrated about that hit than anything. I don't really remember the shot, to be honest. It was more worried about Dane. More so just trying to get a stoppage so that we could get someone on the floor.
I assume, Josh, you've never seen 3 shorthanded goals in the same major penalty before. Was that a flaw or just one of those things, or a little both?
Yeah, that whole run really started with Dane and I making a stupid decision. We tried to do something on the 4-on-3 that we don't normally do, and we talked about it, and we were kind of hemming and hawing about it, and let's try it, and ended up backfiring on us. And that's something that just can't happen for us. Dane and I know that. Our offense knows that. But also, I'm sitting there looking for a rebound, and the other guy's waiting at the far end, and we leave Matty up to drive. He's playing lights out. It's unfair for us. It's unfair for us to do that to the defense, especially when they're playing so great, and it kind of starts that little run to come back. So we got to be better.
While you don't want to give up that kind of a run, though, what can you say about the fact that you guys didn't let it get too out of control and you got out of that quarter still up by 4?
Yeah. Like I said, proud of our group, right? Because as soon as they kill that 5-minute, they also score on it, 3 times. We then go and take a 5, I believe, right after, and all of a sudden we're killing a penalty, and so 10 minutes of absolute mayhem. But we really didn't lose our composure too much. Stuff like that happens. You can kind of feel the game starting to slip a little bit. So yeah, definitely very proud of our guys for staying calm, riding the ebbs and flows of the game, and ultimately coming up with.
Did you get a sense around the team, Josh, that the possibility of going 1-3 was something of a motivational factor today, or is it too early to worry about those things?
Listen, a lot of people talk about records, right? For me personally, I'm someone who, I don't believe in looking at our record. When we're going into the playoffs and it's a one and done, are we looking at our record? When we're going to, a championship game, are we looking at what we did in the past? No, right? So every weekend, it doesn't really matter what your record is. You're trying to go 1-0 on the weekend. It's really that simple. So, I think we need to have that mindset going forward. And I think that's what we've done in the past. So, personally, we don't let that get to us.
John said this was a team that in the past it kind of had your number, maybe a year or so ago, then you beat them in the finals and got this win. How have you been able to kind of flip that matchup around?
Yeah, I think obviously, Wardo is an incredible goalie, MVP caliber player, and their defense plays to his strengths, right? So we're not used to that. A lot of the style of play that we play against normally is a lot of pressure over the top, right? So forces you to carry down, try to get over the top, and things happen, and boys don't always stand out top of the crease too much. Whereas they're really the exact opposite, and they just want to pack it in. They let you have that that soft spot shot where you're shooting around 2-3 guys, and you're close to the cage, so it feels like a good shot. But at the end of the day, I think we kind of got back to playing our game and attacking and using our athleticism, which really was kind of the difference, and not focusing on just trying to get quick sticks all the time and all that, not moving our feet. So proud of our guys.
Hey Josh, I'm still learning to lacrosse. I've only been a fan following it for 2 years. What I've noticed about this league is no lead is ever safe. And also I wanted to ask you thoughts on how important Matt Vince was, especially in that first quarter against Colorado.
Yeah, I mean, this league, this sport is such a beautiful game because you're never truly out of it. Dating back to our first game against Albany, we were down 14-12 with 4 minutes left. And I'm looking up and I'm like, we're gonna win this game still. You kind of have that feel. So yeah, it's kind of a crazy way to play and to try to get that out of your mind, especially when you're up. But to touch on what you said about Bino, it's crazy because sometimes you watch him and it's like he's just in that flow state. Yeah, he's nothing's getting past him. Like no matter what they throw at him, they're giving them everything under the kitchen sink, and he's just down on his head. And as for us as an offense to watch that, it gives us energy. Makes us want to battle. That's why giving up that 5 minute those 3 shorthanded goals really that frustrated us a lot because how great he was. It feels like we let him down. It's kind of like when your dad's disappointed in you. He's not angry. It's just you feel bad.
Congrats on the win.
Thank you.
All right, guys, that clip was courtesy of my YouTube channel. If you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel yet, please do so. Chris Pomey, live with CDP Sports Talk. That was Josh Byrne, number 22 of the Buffalo Bandits, after the Bandits' exciting 12-8 win over Colorado at the KeyBank Center. Josh had 3 goals, 4 assists, 7 points in that game, and him and Dane Smith and the Bandits now are 2-2 and are now on the road this Saturday night, January 13th, 7 o'clock at the Rochester Nighthawks. You can listen to the game on 1520 The Bet with John Gerkler and Steve Bermel on the radio, or CW23 if you're in the Buffalo area as well. And also check out the National Lacrosse League at NLL.com or the Buffalo Bandits website at bandits.com. And again, that was Josh Byrne in the post-game media call after their win against Colorado at the KeyBank Center in Buffalo before 15,143 fans at Bandit Land as well. And again, I want to say thank you to Dan Miller today, the voice of the Detroit Lions, and also the longtime sports director and anchor at Fox 2 in Detroit for coming on live with CDP Sports Talk as well. And as always, Live with CDP Sports Talk is a weekly sports and entertainment talk show hosted by yours truly, Chris Palme, is on weeknights from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern on radio station WQEE 99.1 FM, The Key, the home of Southern sports and talk, the heartbeat of Atlanta. Our radio station's website, if you'd like to listen on live stream, is WQEEFM.radio12345.com. Also, Live with CDP Sports Talk is also live streamed on these platforms: YouTube, Facebook, Twitter/X, Twitch, LinkedIn, and now available on Instagram as well. Thank you to StreamYard. And please follow me on Instagram at Chris Palme on Instagram as well. You can also view my website on beacons.ai/Chris D. Palme. All my digital content and all my social media sites and all my previous radio and podcast shows are on beacons.ai/Chris D. Palme. Live with CDP Sports Talk, again, is sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership at 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Guelph Auto Mall. Check out barrycullen.com for the newest selection of new and pre-owned GM vehicles, or give them a call at 519-824-0210, or email them at info@barrycullen.com. Speaking of Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership right now, discover a winter event there. A 2024 Silverado 1500 custom crew cab you can lease for $277 bi-weekly. That's every 2 weeks. That's almost like $139 weekly at 5.9% financing for up to 24 months with $3,749 down payment on an ultra low kilometer lease. More details available at barrycullen.com. And speaking of Barry Cullen Chevrolet right now, if between now and February 29th, if you order a set of winter tires that are in stock at Barry Cullen Chevrolet, you can save up to 13% on winter tires if you do that between now and February 29th, as long as they're in stock at Barry Cullen Chevrolet as well. And I want to say thank you to Mark Cullen from Barry Cullen Chevrolet, again, for sponsoring Live with CDP Sports Talk as well. You can also follow me, this content creator, on TikTok at Live with CDP. All my player and coaches interviews and all my content and media work is on TikTok as well. And it's been a great experience on TikTok as well for the last 3 years. StreamYard is the official live stream provider of Live with CDP Sports Talk. If you're into webinars or podcasting such as myself, check out StreamYard.com. It's the best live streaming provider service in North America. They have great customer service, and I'm now proud to be an affiliate of StreamYard.com. If you have any questions or suggestions or comments, please DM me about StreamYard. And they do have free plans at StreamYard.com, or you can get a professional plan or other plans such as I have as well. So again, thank you to StreamYard, and thank you. And I'm proud to be an affiliate of StreamYard.com, and check them out again, please. Live with CDP Sports Talk, the audio version is available on these platforms: iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Google Podcasts, Spotify for podcasters, Apple Podcasts, Breaker, Pocket Casts, Radio Public, Spotify, Castbox, LinkedIn, Pandora, and Tuned In. You can also email or text Live with CDP Sports Talk at cpalme19@gmail.com, or you can text the show at 519-820-7188. Any comments, questions, suggestions, any feedback, positive, negative would be greatly appreciated as well. And that's the only way you get better in these shows as well. And before we wrap it up, guys, I do have another show tonight, and I'm looking forward to it. Part 2 of Live with CDP Sports Talk, brought to you by Barry Cullen Chevrolet, and weeknights at 8 on WQEE 99.1 FM. Tonight at 7 p.m., I have a special guest. Her name is S.E. Hewitt. She is a senior consultant with PwC Consultant Solutions out of Oklahoma. She's also a former athlete, former basketball player, and I believe she was in weightlifting. So my friend S.E. Hewitt is going to come on tonight and talk a little bit about herself. And I hope you guys can tune in. And tonight's show will be at 7 o'clock Eastern on all my platforms as well. Also, guys, again, the Michigan Wolverines win their 12th ever national championship, their first one since 1997, with a 34-13 win over Washington. Michigan dominated this game, but really it was a closer game than the score indicates. Michigan was up, 20-13 with about 7 minutes left in that game, and then Michigan got 2 late touchdowns to put them away, and Blake Corum, 134 yards rushing, 2 big touchdowns. Donovan Edwards, 107 yards on the ground and 2 touchdowns. And J.J. McCarthy only was 10 for 18 for 140 yards, but he played a clean game. And one of the key plays in that game was J.J. McCarthy's 3rd down and 13 scramble for a first down. And then another play was his nice 32-yard pass to the tight end Loveland. And JJ made the plays. He did not throw any interceptions and didn't turn the ball over. He played a clean game, and Michigan's front 4 was too much for Washington's offensive line, and they did a great job on Michael Penix. They basically took away his receivers, and they put him under a lot of pressures. And I'm so happy for Jim Harbaugh. He's been with Michigan since 2015, and the last 2 years they fell short in the National College Football Program playoffs, losing 1 year and 2 years ago to Georgia. Last year, upset by TCU, and this year beating Alabama, a very good Alabama team in overtime, 27-21, and then beating Washington 34-13. So happy for that program. The winningest college program in all of the NCAA in their 12th championship. And it'll be interesting to see what happens with Jim Harbaugh in the offseason, whether he goes back to the NFL or he stays in Michigan. But whatever he decides, his legacy has been cemented at Michigan with his national championship. And they're the first team. The Michigan Wolverines are the first Big Ten team to win 15 games, go 15-0 since 1899. Chicago Maroons did it, courtesy of CBS Sports. So Michigan's the first Big Ten team again to go 15-0. Since the 1899 Chicago Maroons, again, courtesy of CBS Sports as well. And that's about it, guys. I want to say thank you again to Dan Miller, sports director at Fox 2 in Detroit, and the longtime radio play-by-play announcer for the Detroit Lions of the National Football League, for coming on here today and talking about the 2023 Lions, a little bit about the Wolverines, and previewing the game against the Rams. And again, the Lions take on the Rams this Sunday night at 8:15 at Ford Field. You can try to get tickets at DetroitLions.com. I don't think there'll be any tickets left. Detroit loves their football team, and this is the biggest thing to happen in Detroit Lions football in over 3 decades. So DetroitLions.com for more information about the team, or possibly try to get some tickets that are available as well. And as for Dan Miller, you can follow Dan on Twitter /X at Dan Miller Fox 2. That's at Dan Miller, capital D, capital M, Dan Miller, Fox 2. And also his TV station, you can follow it at fox2detroit.com as well. And that's about it, guys. I want to say thank you so much to Dan Miller again for coming on live with CDP Sports Talk this afternoon. And looking forward to my second show tonight at 7 o'clock. With my friend S.E. Hewitt out of Oklahoma. So I hope you can tune into that as well. I hope everybody has a great day and afternoon, and give me a little bit of time, and I'll have this show with Dan Miller downloaded to video and audio as well. So have a great afternoon, guys, wherever you are. Thank you for watching and listening to Live with CDP Sports Talk. brought to you by Barry Cullen Chevrolet and on WQEE 99.1 FM. Have a good afternoon, guys, and we'll see you 7 o'clock tonight for another edition of Live with CDP Sports Talk.